Hey, childrens, Mr. Bruce here. We're still reading from the Pixar books. This week, the story is, or today's story anyway, is a Toy Story, and it's called A New Mission. But before we start, eyes watching, ears listening, voices quiet, body calm. Okay. Andy was leaving for college, and his toys were heading to the attic. But Sarge and his green army men had a different plan. They climbed up on the windowsill. "Hey, Sarge, what are you doing?" asked Buzz Lightyear. "War's over, folks," Sarge said. "We're moving on." Sarge explained that their tour of duty in Andy's room was complete. It was time for him and his troops to deploy for a new mission. With one final salute, Sarge and his men jumped off at the windowsill, opened their parachutes, and flew across the city. Operation New Homes was on. The three army men landed near a toy store. It would be the perfect place to find a child. Before long, the soldiers spotted a boy and his mother walking towards them. "Oh, this child is military material," Sarge said. "On your marks, gentlemen, go, go, go." He and his men jumped into the mother's shopping bag. But the soldiers weren't taken home for the playtime. The mother made a stop at a bakery. As the boy reached in for a giant cookie, he knocked one of the shopping bags over. The army men tumbled out to the floor. When the boys left, the baker spotted the toys, and he picked them up and took them into the kitchen, delighted at what he thought were new cake decorations. After giving them a good wash, the baker placed the army men on a birthday cake, and he put the cake in his refrigerator. "Looks like we're in for a long, cold night," Sarge said. As soon as morning came, the soldiers were placed in a box and carried out the door. They were on the move again. When the lid of the cake box was finally lifted, Sarge and his men discovered that they were in the middle of a boy's birthday party. "Green Army men, cool," said the birthday boy as he plucked the soldiers off the cake and set them aside. "This could be it, men," said Sarge. "This boy could lead us to our new home." The soldiers nodded in agreement. Their mission was back on track. The soldiers watched as the boy enjoyed his party, but then somehow they lost sight of him. Sarge scanned the room. "The target is headed for the exit. Let's move, move, move." The army men followed the boy out the front door, but they were too late. He was already gone. Before the Green Army men could retreat, a pizza delivery truck screeched to a halt right near them, and the driver honked his horn. Honk, 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 honk. A waiter came out of the restaurant carrying a stack of pizza boxes. "It's about time," he said to the driver. "Take these to the Wilderness Explorer picnic. There are a lot of hungry kids waiting for lunch." Sarge looked at his men and smiled, and they climbed onto the truck. The truck weaved in and out of traffic, and suddenly it hit a bump, causing one of the cadets' parachutes to open. Sarge grabbed onto the soldier and began to lift off onto the roof. The other soldiers held on to Sarge. The wind was strong. They couldn't hold on much longer. The young man said, "Go on without me. Leave me." "Never leave a good soldier behind," Sarge said. All three soldiers flew off the roof, and they landed on the side of the road. As night fell, the men made a tent out of newspaper. The cadets went to bed. The cadets are young soldiers. But Sarge stayed wide awake, wondering when and where they would find their new home. The next morning, the unit woke to a loud rumble. Their shelter was being lifted into the air and tossed into a trash can. Sarge was still inside. Somebody threw away the paper they used for a tent, and he was still in there. Sarge looked down to see his soldiers safe in the bushes below. Then he was thrown into the back of a garbage truck. The trash man hopped on the truck, and the truck drove off. Sarge struggled to keep his head above the garbage. Just as he was about to sink into the plastic bags, he looked up and saw the soldiers. They had come to his rescue. Working one by one, they lowered themselves into the garbage truck, and Sarge reached out and grabbed the hand of one of the soldiers. "Never leave a man behind," the soldier said. Then the troops jumped off of the truck and landed in an alley. Sarge looked at his 3 soldiers and sighed. Maybe leaving Andy's house wasn't such a good idea after all. And just at that moment, the men heard laughter coming from the other side of the wall, and they climbed up and looked over. Sarge gasped. Below them was a beautiful playground. Could there be a better new home? They parachuted in for a closer look. A group of toys greeted the soldiers with open arms, and they said, "Welcome to Sunnyside Daycare Center." Ken and Barbie gave a troop a tour of the playground and the classrooms, and everything was new and improved now that their old boss wasn't there anymore. Sarge pulled his men aside and explained that Sunnyside felt like the home they were looking for, and the cadets all agreed. The next morning, Sarge proudly watched his men experience a full day of play at Sunnyside. The soldiers were home, finally. Mission accomplished. The end. Wow. They went on a pretty good mission, huh? And they found a great home. What could be better than a child care center? All right, I'll be back with another Pixar Disney book. Until then, be good and wash your hands. Bye-bye.